Hey, what's going on, stars? It's me, Shot of Star, and I'm back. Listen, again, I want to continue to thank you for the support for this channel. Please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. If you like it, share it. That's all I need. I'm drinking two things. I'm double fisting here. And I know it's going to seem a little crazy. Okay, I'm drinking some ginger tea right here, right? But then in my regular mug, in my Shot of Star mug, I have that fruit infused water. So, sometimes you want something cold, sometimes you want something, hot. It all depends. So that's what I'm doing. I'm double fisting it today. Here we go. So, listen, we're going to start off with the least important video and news today. And I'm not going to keep you long, and then we're going to move on. I love you guys. Okay. So, we're going to start off with the least important news, and I probably mentioned it a little bit in my last video that allegedly, not allegedly, it's happening, but it's such silly news. But I'm going to report it to you because somebody might want to know this. Diddy to get out of jail earlier than expected. It's not what we think. I would have thought, honestly, I did think earlier that by this time he would have been pardoned for whatever reason, and it hasn't happened, right? Okay. So it says Sean Diddy Combs is set to be released from prison earlier than expected, with his release date moved up from June 4th, 2028 to April 25th, 2008. So they're actually moving it up only about 6 weeks or so. And I mean, that's not anything special for him. I think all prisoners have that chance if they sign up for different programs. Because from what I understand, let me see. They said this adjustment follows his participation in a drug abuse rehabilitation program while in federal custody. Combs, who is serving time for 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, is currently incarcerated at the federal correction facility at Fort Dix in New Jersey. So again, Puffy will be getting out of jail at this point 6 weeks earlier than normal. So instead of June 4th, 2028, he's getting out on April 25th, 2028. That's what that is, okay? So don't say I didn't tell you. We're going to move on. Now, tell me this. Now, I know that we are at war, technically, right? But did you know that there are thousands of people and passengers and some Americans that are trapped on ships out at the Gulf, at ports, because of the Gulf War? Um, because if some people have taken cruises and ships to Dubai and different things, and you have to remember the war is in the Middle East. So it says the passengers and crew are unable to leave the ships, which have become floating hotels after escalating hostilities raised fears over safety. Um, they say at least 6 ships from big companies are said to be stranded and at a standstill and waiting news of when they can leave. This situation has left thousands of travelers and crews stranded in the ports of Dubai, Dohan. They named quite a few different ports. And it's because of this war. So what happens is when war was declared, when your president decided to do what he decided to do, there were people out on boats and ships on vacation in certain places that are close to this war and things that are happening, and they're now stranded. So there are at least 6 passenger ships, cruise lines from 6 major companies that are trapped at certain ports because of the war in the Middle East. Thought you'd be interested because I'm like, yo, I never thought of that. Imagine. And I always tell my friends and family too when they plan vacations. And of course, we all like to travel international and do certain things and have these little fancy trips, right? But sometimes, like when we were in a government shutdown, I had family members that was traveling to Panama for vacation and different places. And I was the one saying, be careful, make sure you have all your, because we are in a government shutdown. And if anything happens where you are, it's going to take our government, if ever, to do anything about it. So those are the reasons. So I say, if you're planning these trips, I say plan these trips um, thinking of what could happen. And I mean, I know it's crazy, but and speaking of trips, I'm actually going to move a story up, right? Okay. Now, you know how we like to go on, like I said, fancy vacations, exotic vacations. Some of us are going to Africa that's on safari. They're going to Thailand on safari and things like the sort, right? Well, tourist unalived by elephant while his wife escapes, making third known fatality by the same animal. Now, this happened at a national park in Thailand, and you have American tourists and tourists from all over the world. It says a tragic incident happened at a national park in Thailand, has been marked of the unaliving of a 65-year-old tourist. While his wife managed to escape, this incident is the third fatality linked to the same wild bull elephant. The elephant has previously unalived two other people. The authorities are considering options such as relocation or behavioral modification to manage the elephant's behavior to prevent further incidents. Are y'all good? Are y'all okay? Look, at your national park, you have an elephant that has already unalived two people before this one, right? And you didn't think of changing anything, and maybe this is not the animal that should be intertwining with humans. Now you have a third, and now they said that they're considering options such as relocation or behavioral modification to manage the elephant's behavior and prevent further incidents. I think y'all are way behind the eight ball. And I mean, seriously speaking, this is the third fatality. And that's another thing. When you're traveling from country to country, and people get this state of mind of living in the United States, and we take our mentality of living in the United States to Europe and to other countries where the same rules don't apply. Safety rules, the buildings are not even built the same way. So there's different structural, there's totally, listen, every country has its own way of doing things and its own rules and regulations and laws. And you can't constantly keep going out of the country, but yet still having the United States mentality of rules and regulations. It's not the same. So those that are traveling, near and far, be careful. And when it comes to these safaris and these wild animals, let's remember, people, they are animals, which makes them unpredictable. Listen, do what you can, but seriously, don't say you didn't know. Okay, so we're going to come right back to the States, and we're going to talk about this happened in Staten Island. I got to be careful about telling this particular story because it's about a baby. Um, Mother traumatized after baby was thrown down garbage chute. Um, okay. Well, I'm going to actually, because I want you to see the beautiful baby first. I want you to see who the baby is, and then we can talk about the situation again. This happened in Staten Island. So I'm going to bring up this picture here, right here where my cursor is, up top, moving around. That's the baby. And it says, mother traumatized after baby thrown down garbage chute. So let me get rid of it and let's talk about it. And again, this has nothing to do with what you're probably thinking. This is about mental illness. So stay tuned. It says a Staten Island mother says every time she walks down her hallway in her building, it reminds her of the day her 1-year-old baby girl was thrown away like trash, right? The baby survived being tossed down a garbage chute in her apartment building. While she is still recovering, her mother is desperately trying to move out of the building. Before the unthinkable act, Megan Pierce says it was a typical afternoon. She stepped into her bedroom. Okay, let's paint this picture because I don't like the way they're telling it because I've actually heard the story already. Imagine a mother's home with her baby. The baby father is there, and the baby father's brother is there. So the uncle of the baby and the father of the baby are also in the house with the mother. The mother receives a phone call. She's in the kitchen, whatever, whatever. She decides to take the phone call to a quieter room, which was the bedroom. Well, when she came out of the bedroom, He went back to doing what she was doing. She paid no attention of where the baby was at the moment, but then she realized that she hasn't seen or heard a baby. So she asks the father, "Where's the baby?" He says, "In the in the living room with the uncle." Well, while the mother went into the bedroom to take a phone call, something told the uncle to throw the baby down the garbage chute. And that's what he did. So when the mother wound up asking the uncle, "Where's the baby?" He said, I threw her down the garbage chute. Okay. So So he took her out of her playpen. Something told him to throw the baby away in the garbage chute. So while the mother was in the bedroom on the phone, the father was doing whatever. The uncle, they said they hadn't had any issues with the uncle of mental illness. They have had no issues with the uncle doing anything weird or strange. It was just another day. And this is what the uncle decided to do. Of course, the uncle has been arrested and taken in for testing. And I mean, because who would think of just out of the blue get up and say, you know what, just like you would go into the kitchen to get a glass of water, would decide to take the baby and throw the baby down the incinerator. So once they realized that the uncle said that he had threw the baby down the incinerator, the father went down the incinerator. I don't know what floor, they don't say what floor they lived on, but the father went into the incinerator to go get his baby. He did get his baby, and neither one of them were hurt too bad, little injuries of going down the chute itself. But the father went into the incinerator and down the same route his daughter took, he took to get his daughter. So I applaud that. But this is what I'm saying to you guys: mental illness is real. And who would know? I mean, how many of us have uncles and aunts, and you've never had a problem with them before, and something like this happens? What do you do? What do you do? Um, you have to be vigilant. You have to be pay more attention. I guess. I mean, it's weird, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And you know what? Listen, I have some R. Kelly news for you guys today. Um, Kelly lands in solitary during federal prison investigation. Now, see if you can follow me on this story, and then we can talk about what we think it is, okay? It says R. Kelly has been placed in solitary confinement at the Federal Correction Complex in Butner, North Carolina, while federal officials investigate his possession of a retired warden's phone number. The investigation is centered around Kelly's participation in a prison mentorship program where he was given the phone number by a retired warden of that prison. The phone number was later found in his cell during a search after his cellmate was caught with contraband. Kelly's attorney has stated that the situation is a misunderstanding and that the only reason for having the phone number was for the mentoring program. The Federal Bureau of Prisons have not provided a timeline for Kelly's isolation and has declined to comment on the specifics of his housing situation or the investigation. So, allegedly, whoever R. Kelly shares his cell with was caught with contraband. His cellmate was caught with contraband, whatever that may be. They didn't say what it was, and I think in jail and prison, contraband could be anything. It could be a cigarette. It could be anything. It could be a knife. Could be anything. And because of that, they not just tossed his part of the cell, they tossed R. Kelly's part of the cell. And while doing that, they found the phone number of the retired warden of this prison. And you would say, why would R. Kelly have the retired warden phone number, private phone number? Is he getting special treatment? What is it about? What is it about? And R. Kelly is stating, and his attorney is stating that it's about a mentoring program that before the warden retired, he gave R. Kelly his number, which I don't understand why. And why would he actually be in touch with him one-on-one in that manner? It just doesn't look right. So I can understand why he's put into solitary confinement and they're doing an investigation, because that doesn't look right. Why would you have the retired warden's phone number? For what? So that's it for the R. Kelly news. Now tell me this. Are you guys aware that they had a governor's dinner at the White House, right? And there were two governors in the United States that were uninvited. One of them, Maryland Governor Wes Moore. He's the governor of Maryland, and he's the only African American governor that we have in the United States, right? And then the second governor that was excluded is, I believe, he's the only outwardly gay governor, and I believe he's the governor of Colorado. Well, they were the only two. I'm going to let me pull this up because I want you to see who I'm talking about, and then we're going to get into it. These are the two governors that we're talking about. And yeah, they were the only two governors in the United States that was excluded from the White House governor's dinner. Mind you, the dinner is for the governors of the United States. And how do you uninvite two? One that's openly gay and one that's African American. These are the only two governors that have been uninvited. What do you think about that? Tell me, I'm honest. Please. I mean, because at this point, everything is just blatantly in your face. You can't say, oh, that was a misstep or that was a clerical error. These are governors we're talking about. These are not regular secretaries from the secretary pool, or I'm sorry, assistant pool. These are governors of states in the United States. How? And it just seems so blatant to me now that it's like, okay, I'm going to uninvite you. And what are you going to do? Okay, so Governor Westmore, who's the governor of Maryland, like I said, was uninvited, but then re-invited after people noticed, like, why was he not invited? Once his office realized that his credentials, you can't just show up at the White House, so you have to have your clearance, your credentials, and once they realized that everything wasn't going in order, when they looked, they found out that Governor Westmore was uninvited. And why? I have no idea. Um, I have no idea. It says Governor Westmore, the National's only black sitting governor, was uninvited from the annual National Governors Association dinner hosted by the White House. Um, they said in tradition that typically includes governors from all 50 states and fosters bipartisan collaborations. President Donald Trump announced that this year's NGA weekend would include only Republican governors, breaking the long-standing bipartisan practice. Colorado Governor Jared Polis, another Democrat, an only outwardly gay governor, and Governor of Maryland Wes Moore were the only two governors uninvited to the governor's dinner. Um, I think personally, I just think that politics have gone in such because of the new administration, the administration that we have going on now. I think that what's going on? Like, are you okay? Are you cool? How do you have a governor's dinner but uninvite two of them? One is outwardly gay, governor of Colorado. The other is the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. How blatant does that get? How blatant does that get? And mind you, and the tea to the whole gay thing, you think that he's the only gay governor out of all these governors. But he's the outwardly one. He's the one that's not ashamed and he's letting you know what it is. But you think that he's the only one? I mean, really. I don't know what is going on, but I know we have 3 more years of this, and I don't know what it will be when it's all said and done within the next 3 years. But I pray that everything that's done can be undone. That's what I'm praying for. Um, I don't know. What do you say about that? How do you even explain that? Moore's response, the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, his response is Moore describes the exclusion as blatant disrespect and a snub to the spirit of bipartisan federal-state partnership. He noted that being the only black governor added weight to the exclusion, though he did not explicitly attribute intended saying that the president didn't invite him because he was African American, but however, he is the only one. So look, I want y'all guys to be intentional. I want you guys to be in the know. I want y'all to understand what's really going on. At this point, I try not to even get upset when I hear things or see things like this because one supersedes the next. Like just when you think that they've gone to their lowest, they go to hell. And if hell has a basement, they'll go there too. Listen, I love you guys. I want you guys to continue to have a great week. I promise you guys you're gonna see me more, and I'm gonna try my best um to stick to that. Um and I love you guys, and I will see you guys as soon as possible. Have a great day.